Demon Lord attack. I have discovered something important about myself. In my previous life, I claimed I could swim like a mermaid. This was a lie. I could barely manage a dead man's float. I don't even remember visiting a pool. The closest I got to aquatic achievement was sinking slowly while making peace with my choices. This information is now directly relevant because my spider body floats on the ocean surface and cannot dive. If I really concentrate, I can submerge for about 2 seconds before physics ejects me back up. You cannot call that swimming. I am sitting on the world's least comfortable pool float. Then a water worm attacked. It looked like a giant shark with professional grievances. I destroyed it. The resulting ocean of blood attracted more sharks, because apparently blood in water has consequences. I destroyed them too, making the blood ocean bigger. I came out here to relax, I thought. I am massacring sea creatures instead. Spider vs. Shark sounds like a B-movie, not even a good B-movie, and somehow I am both the budget special effect and the protagonist. The EXP was excellent though. I even leveled up. A signal hit me from Parallel Mind Former Magic Brain number 1. Run. Now. I looked around. No mother, no puppet spider, no visible threat. Something worse than mother is coming, it told me. I started preparing a teleport rune. I was too slow. An explosion. A shockwave so violent it felt like a meteor had landed next to me. Something arrived in my field of vision from so far outside my detection range that it crossed the distance between not here and right in front of me in no measurable time. The impact sound was a side effect of its arrival speed. I managed to appraise it. First attempt, blocked. Second attempt, with wisdom's full backing, success. Origin Taratect, LV 139, name Ariel. All stats hovering around 90,000. Skills list that took actual time to read. Almost everything maxed. Almost everything at nullification level for resistances. Demon Lord title. I would have been better off not knowing. The Demon Lord was shaped like a young girl and spoke to me in a cheerful, conversational tone in a language I did not speak. I pointed at my mouth, waved, did my best impression of, "I cannot understand you, please wait while I figure out what's happening." This conveyed that I was stalling for time, which it apparently did not appreciate. Her stance changed. Teleport rune, incomplete. Running, pointless against those speed stats. Fighting, the resistance skills alone made most of my options useless. She waved an arm. That was it. Just a wave. My body exploded. The main body went down. We didn't disappear, which was confusing. Either the main body wasn't fully dead, or we had survived long enough as soul fragments to keep operating independently. Neither option was well-defined territory. The system probably hadn't anticipated this situation. We had been in the middle of a spiritual battle with Mother when contact with the main body cut out. It had been going well. We were consuming her soul body, absorbing her power, slowly tipping the balance. That's what stats and skills actually are, the power of the soul. Eat someone's soul, and you gain their strength. We were winning. Then Mother reached out to something external. I looked through her eyes and saw the Demon Lord. I sent the emergency warning to the main body immediately. Too late. Now, updated plan. If the main body is still alive somehow, our job hasn't changed, it's gotten more urgent. We beat Mother. Then we beat her ruler. Soul fragments are protected by heresy nullification, which cancels direct soul attacks, so we can continue fighting even against something massively out of our league. Not one of the other Parallel Minds objects. Good. We don't have time for objections. Reincarnations. On the streets of Sariella, a man shouted about sacrificing skills to achieve salvation. Avoid engaging, Miss Oka murmured. The people here worship the administrator Sariel as their god. This is probably his influence. Shun asked what sacrificing skills actually meant. Skill elimination, she said. A skill that requires no skill points to acquire. Once activated, it deletes all of the user's skills over the course of several days and cannot be stopped mid-process. The deleted skills are gone permanently, unless the user retrains from scratch. What's the point of that? It transfers accumulated power to the administrators, their equivalent of a tithe, except what you're donating is the entire yield of your lifetime's work. A religion built around voluntarily destroying yourself for someone else's benefit. Shun did not say this aloud, because Ms. Oka was clearly not in the mood for commentary. The second meaning, she continued, is something about using skill sacrifice to approach godhood. I don't know the specifics. It sounds religious in the way things sound religious when they don't quite make sense. Katsuya appeared at Schlane's door that evening, Fei in tow, at precisely the moment Ms. Oka left to meet the elves' underground contacts. Hyrance was diplomatically excused. "Sure, I'll go kill some time at a bar," he said, with the cheerful ease of someone who had lived long enough to recognize when conversations weren't meant for him. "Hyrance is so mature," Fei announced, diving onto Schlane's bed. "What a hunk." This was said without preamble, in Japanese, the moment the door closed. Fei stretched out. She was clearly thrilled to be in a bed again, in human form, been able to sleep in actual rooms, though she complained that her wings made it impossible to roll over properly. They kept catching on the bedding. "So?" Schlane asked. Katya sat next to Fei with an expression that announced this was going to be a serious conversation. The other reincarnations. The numbers: 11 protected in the elf village, 8 more contacted, including them. 6 whereabouts unknown. Of those 6, 4 were dead. She said the names: Kuta Hayashi, Naofumi Kogure, Issei Sakurazaki, Hiro Wakaba. Fei sat upright at the last name. She and Wakaba had history. In her previous life as Mirei Shinohara, Fei had been one of the most visually striking people in the class, and the only person who attracted more attention was Wakaba. An upperclassman Fei had a crush on apparently liked Wakaba. Fei had responded to this information by hiding Wakaba's things and spreading rumors, which was, by any fair definition, bullying. Wakaba had shown almost no reaction, and so it had never escalated. Fei had spent her new life regretting it. "I can't quite," Fei started, then stopped. "I don't really know how to say it." Katya had a different angle. She'd once confessed to Wakaba and been turned down. She'd handled it with characteristic composure. "I got shut down," she'd said, and smiled. But what she felt now wasn't straightforward either. "It just doesn't feel real," Katya said. "It was second-hand information. We weren't there." They reminisced about Kogure for a while. He'd been a dedicated crybaby, getting called on in class, the teacher confiscating his handheld game, being assigned to care for the school animals. Each memory arrived with a specific crying incident attached. If Ichi was still alive, Fei said, Natsume probably wouldn't have gone this far. Issei Sakurazaki. Ichi had been Hugo's childhood friend, the one person who consistently kept his worst impulses in check. Without him, apparently, there was nothing. "I wonder if Natsume even knows," Fei said. Nobody answered. Then Katya looked at Schlane in a way that made him nervous. "How do you see me? Am I Katya, or am I Kanata?" He said they were the same person. She sighed. "So you either really believe I haven't changed, or you just want to believe it. I don't know which is worse." She stared at him. He looked away. He found Fei clearly suppressing laughter. "Don't you dare," Katya said, turning the glare on Fei. "I'm just a spectator," Fei said, with great satisfaction. "The actual point of the visit: how much of Miss Oka's story do you believe?" They'd discussed the administrators as an intellectual exercise. Katya's concern was more specific. Miss Oka was hiding something, not lying, not telling them everything. Information gaps she clearly had no intention of filling. Details about the other reincarnations. The full scope of what was coming. "She might betray us," Katya said. "Not saying she will, just be prepared that she might." Slane's only response was a heavy sigh and a nod. "Returning monster." When my eyes opened, I was floating in the ocean. I was also nothing but a head, my body from the neck down, gone. Or rather, distributed somewhere in the water column between here and where the Demon Lord hit me. Spiders don't technically have necks, but the point stands. I was alive because of immortality. I was alive as a head because of HP auto-recovery, which had apparently been working on reconstruction while I was unconscious, and had gotten to approximately head before running out of the easy material. Now I'm trying to think through what the Demon Lord could have done if she'd known I'd survived. She could have sealed me in concrete and sunk me to the ocean floor. She could have arranged for carnivorous monsters to eat me every time I regenerated. She could have split me apart at a molecular level. I'm fairly sure that level of disintegration is past what immortality handles. She could have found something even worse that I'm not imaginative enough to invent. The fact that she didn't means she doesn't know I'm alive. Or rather, She suspects it, since the parallel minds are still attacking Mother, but she doesn't know where I am. I called into the parallel mind channel. They responded. Still battling Mother. Going well, they said. Also, stop calling. It helps Mother triangulate my location. They'd interfere with the signal from their end. Just run. For now, I am seaweed. I am a completely innocent piece of floating ocean debris. If anyone asks, I am not here. The Demon Lord's stats, by the way, were hovering around 90,000 across the board. To put this in context, Mother was already the kind of boss who shouldn't exist in a game with any sense of balance. The Demon Lord is several times worse. Power creep should have limits. Apparently nobody told this world that. Water spider. 4 days of ocean. My body gradually reassembled. The water worm situation was manageable. They kept attacking. I kept hitting them with dark magic, which operates exactly as effectively underwater as above it, because the dark attribute seems to consider itself above physical constraints like water. My magic stats exceed 10,000. Their defenses average around 2,000. The math was not in their favor. I had no body. I used telekinesis to move my head out of the way and shot spells at everything that came close. It was basically a tower defense game, except the tower was also the defender and had only 1 HP remaining. I was managing. Then a water dragon appeared. It looked like a plesiosaur, which I found upsetting in a way I couldn't fully articulate. I spent several hours in a chase around the ocean surface, it in the water, me floating above it, both of us firing at each other, until I eventually won, because it was slower than me and its magic was mediocre. The level up from killing it caused the usual recovery effect, which in this case meant body parts started regrowing from the base of my head stump. I do not want to imagine what that looked like from outside. I got approximately half a torso before the level up healing stopped. Spent the next several days using healing magic on the remaining gaps while fending off water worms. Occasionally water dragons at Araba's level appeared. Those I fled from. Running away from Araba tier monsters in my current condition was not a failure of pride. It was arithmetic. The swim skill was theoretically available, but would have cost an astronomical amount of skill points due to what I can only assume was profound biological incompatibility. I declined. I would not be diving. I came ashore when a group of water dragons started hunting me cooperatively. Solo water dragons are already a significant nuisance. Water dragons in a clique are a different category of problem, and I had just enough body left that I didn't want to test it. They glared at me from the water as I stepped onto land. The unspoken message was clear. Land had its own issues, primarily the Demon Lord, but she hadn't found me yet. First priority, find a river. Seawater crusts on you. I have the odorless skill, acquired automatically when silence maxed out, which suppresses my scent effectively, but it doesn't do anything about salt deposits. Nobody enjoys being crusty. I found a river. I dove in, surfaced immediately due to physics, and used thread woven into a cloth to wipe myself down. It helped. What I would actually like is a hot bath. A hot spring would be even better. After this entire situation with Mother and the Demon Lord resolves, I am going to find one immediately. Before that, I want food. Real food. Tasty food. I wanted to go sightseeing after leaving the Great Elro Labyrinth. Scenic mountain views, coastal landscapes, interesting local cuisine. Mother's breath attack destroyed the mountain views. Water dragons colonized the coastal experience. The food situation has been uniformly terrible. I have not had a single enjoyable meal since escaping the labyrinth. This is specifically Mother and the Demon Lord's fault. The other problem with traveling on land is my intimidation skill and Fearbringer title, which essentially broadcast my presence to every nearby creature at a range that more than cancels out my stealth improvements. The more I've improved stealth, the closer I've gotten to merely neutralizing the terrify everything effect. At best, I break even. Practically speaking, I cause a monster exodus in whatever direction I'm traveling, which would help the Demon Lord find me faster than direct tracking. I checked the Demon Lord's location via the wisdom marking function. She had gone back to where she destroyed me, determined, through what I can only describe as Sherlock Holmes-level detective work, that I'd ended up in the ocean and was currently searching the entire ocean surface. The criminals who feel hunted by great detectives, I now understood them personally. Fortunately, I was on land, and she wasn't looking at land yet. The plan: return to the Great Elro labyrinth while she's occupied, thin out Mother's army further, expand my teleport destination range so she can't corner me even with those speed stats. The puppet spider continues to be the real obstacle. 6 Asura swords, 10,000 plus stats across every category, movement that requires future sight and thought super acceleration running simultaneously just to dodge, but I'm not approaching it directly. Attrition first, improvise later. The elf village. The teleport point was hidden inside a cavern, inside a secret room behind a dead end that appraisal couldn't detect, in a mountain range that took effort to reach. Someone had committed seriously to hiding this. They arrived to swords in their faces. Then Potimus walked in. Miss Oka said his name in a voice that sounded like the word itself had surprised her. Schlein remembered watching Sophia throw his severed head onto the ground. That image was not easy to categorize as apparently not fatal. It would take more than that to kill me, Potimus said, to the follow-up question of how. He gave the guards a look. They lowered their weapons. The second time Schlein had met this man. The first had been brief. Potimus appeared, introduced himself and Ms. Oka, and left before Schlein could respond. At the time, there'd been a strange sensation that Schlein had attributed to discomfort at the man's attitude. Katya had later identified it, someone appraising him without permission. The social equivalent of reading someone's diary while looking them in the eye. Outside the arrival building, forest. Enormous trees, old enough that the scale felt geological rather than botanical. Homes carved directly into root systems. The village built not among trees but into them. Wow, Katya said, before remembering to control her reaction. Then the eyes. Elves in the branches, in the shadows, in the doorways, all watching. The watching wasn't curious. It was the specific quality of eyes that had already reached a verdict. Anna's hands were shaking. Schlein moved closer to her without saying anything. She was half elf. This place was constructed from every uncomfortable thing in her history. The glares being directed at them as a group landed on her differently. He could at least put his body between her and some of it. Potimus walked ahead, providing logistical briefings with the warmth of a system status report. Imperial Army, approximately 80,000, including significant Word of God Church forces. 3 days out. The Queen Taratect that normally made this forest dangerous had moved, and since she was the apex predator, everything else had fled, clearing the path for the army. The elf village barrier, Miss Oka said. You mentioned it's never been broken. It has withstood direct attack from a Queen Taratect, Potimus said. In the long history of the elves, it has never been breached. The barrier covered an area roughly the size of Tokyo's special wards. The great garum forest surrounding it was roughly Hokkaido. Do you think Hugo can break it? Katya asked. I think he believes he can, Potimus said. He wouldn't bring 80,000 soldiers to an impenetrable barrier. Whether his method will actually work is another question. Ms. Oka's expression during this answer confirmed what Katya had been saying since before they arrived. She knew more than she was sharing. The food, at least, was excellent. Vegetable forward, lightly seasoned, quality of ingredients that made the preparation almost irrelevant. The party ate without speaking. The reincarnations in the elf village. The farm was in a clearing, the only part of the forest where the canopy had been cut back enough to grow things by sunlight. It sat in contrast to the tree-built architecture of everything else, distinctly practical, almost aggressively normal. A girl stopped working and approached them. Welcome back, Miss Oka. The Japanese hit Schlein somewhere in the chest before the tone did. Then the tone caught up. Flat, deliberate, the kind of politeness that was exactly as warm as required, and not a degree more. So, are these 3 new victims or what? Victims? Of course not. That's your opinion. From my perspective, you're definitely the villain. She turned to the 3 of them. Names. From there, not here. Shunsuke Yamada, Kanata Ushima, Mirai Shinohara. The girl's response to Katya was a barely concealed wow that Katya found deeply offensive. The response to Faye was a slow, suspicious examination. I'm Sachi Kudo. I knew it, Faye said, with the resignation of someone encountering a recurring inconvenience. Kudo had been class rep. She was monstrously strict about rules. She and Faye had butted heads consistently, and apparently 2 lifetimes of separation had not softened either of them. "Why do you look exactly like your old self?" "Death couldn't take away my beauty," Faye said, posing. "Give me a real answer." "I genuinely don't know." Then the others noticed Faye. 2 girls dropped what they were doing immediately. "Mireille? Is that really you?" "Oh my god." I and Himi, core members of Faye's previous social circle, the distinctly flashy group that had orbited her in their old class. They closed the distance at speed, and within 30 seconds, all 3 were talking over each other, in the overlapping way of people who had been friends long enough to not require conversational space. 10 years. Different bodies in a different world. They immediately clumped together and chattered like they'd seen each other last Tuesday. Schlein watched this with something between admiration and mild bewilderment. Kudo organized everyone inside. Then, to Miss Oka. "Are you coming? Not that you're particularly welcome." "I understand." Miss Oka's expression did something complicated and resolved into a fixed smile. "I wouldn't want to put a damper on the reunion." She turned and walked away quickly. Schlein looked back once. He had never seen her look so small.